Welcome back. I'm Gary Parr, and you're listening to Fiber Talk, the twice-weekly podcast for people who do fine art with needle and thread. This week, with us, Brenda Côté, Brenda's Needlework Studio. Hi, Brenda.
Hi, Gary.
Now, Brenda, I have followed your blog for I don't know how long. How long have you been blogging?
Since 2013.
2013, yeah. I've got easily 3 or 4 of those years in. Brenda is, even in this day when people talk about blogs going away, Brenda keeps doing it, and it's a good one. Brenda's Needlepoint Studio. If you're not following it, you should follow it because she puts up projects and ideas and tips and so on and so forth. So we're just going to talk this week about needlepoint because that's what you do.
Yes, and love it.
And a lot of it, too.
Well, as much as I can. There are many days where no stitching gets done.
Yeah, I know that routine. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the thing. When I went through your blog, just kind of lining up things for us to talk about, you do a lot of classes. I mean, in relative terms, I think you do.
Right. Here and there, I've been to a lot of the A&G seminars. I go to anything that's taught locally by a well-known instructor, but also classes are sometimes taught by chapter members. And I've even done a few of those classes for my chapter. And you learn so much more. And the discipline is built in when you take a class as far as how much you're going to get done, when you're going to do it, that kind of thing. And I love it. It's still a learning process for me.
So that was really what I started to wonder. At some point, is there a diminishing return in attending these classes, in that you go just because it's fun and you get together with stitching friends, or are you picking up things all the time?
I'd say I'm picking up things all the time. I as far as the diminishing return is concerned, I think the only negative is the stash enhancement, beyond life expectancy. That is the only issue. The rest of it is just pure joy, learning new stitches all the time. And teachers come up with these wonderful projects and techniques. In fact, my tendency was to purchase them all. I've stopped doing that years ago, for the most part. I have a Pinterest page with a title for one of my collections called Projects to Lust After. If I take a picture and put it there, I tend not to buy it. I can go look at it anytime I want. And after about 6 months, if I still want it, I'll get it. But normally it passes because there's something new coming down the pike. So that's one way to save money anyway.
Oh, that's a good technique. Projects to lust after. Okay.
Right. And I've got a lot of them. But some of them are getting older and definitely wouldn't be a purchase today. But I still add pictures there. We'll see if I can restrain myself from going any further than just a picture.
No, that's a good technique there. Yeah, put it up there, and 6 months later, if I still can't bear not having it, then I'll buy it. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Get yourself
or you get
over
talked
that.
into it. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's fun. And who knows? Sometimes there's a collection of pieces put out by a teacher and gives you an opportunity. If you wait, you then see all of the items in the collection, and you can decide to do one or two or all. So, Again, it's waiting can have its benefits.
How'd you get started doing?
Needlepoint.
Yeah. I mean, has it always been needlepoint, or?
No. I dabbled in a few pieces back in the 80s and early 90s, just, watching television projects. Very simple, little pillow here and there. But it wasn't until 2009 I was at a friend's home and saw a lot of needlepoint on her wall. This was when I was living in Northern Virginia. And I asked her, why do you do all of this? What gets you going with all of this?
Why do you do all this? What's wrong with you?
Well, I was curious. And she told me about the Needlepoint Guild and the chapters in Virginia. And I went, oh, there's a guild? I had no idea. So I joined the chapter, and the rest is history. And of course, when I moved to Delaware, I was so pleased to learn that there was a chapter, very close to my home. In fact, it's the only chapter in Delaware. And Delaware, you'd think would have more than one, but this is it. So that was a nice, that was very fortuitous for me anyway.
Yeah, and that's a strong chapter there in Delaware, isn't it?
Surprisingly, yes. We have strong participation. Attendance is very high. The percentage of members that come to the meetings compared to a lot of other chapters and a lot bigger chapters. So they're a good group and a lot of stitching experience. So they're a lot of fun and learn a lot all the time.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing when you get a group like that together. I know we have that in our Fox chapter here in Illinois, that the experience all comes together, and there's just an incredible amount of talent in one room, and that you don't realize till it all congregates together, and then holy smokes.
And it's fun watching new members who are just getting into needlepoint, and every time they pull out a needle and start stitching, 5 people have hints to give them about how to thread the needle, how to strand the threads, and where to start first. I have to think that it's probably a little overwhelming, but I was there once upon a time, so I know I was appreciative of those who gave me that kind of advice, and still get it sometimes. So that's cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah, overwhelming, but then again, you're in a group of supportive people, and you're not going to lack for help when you get stuck. So
true. Many reasons why joining a guild is so beneficial.
Yes, it does help, but there is that stash growth problem.
Well. Every now and then I try to keep my stash organized, and I know that was one of the things we were going to talk about, but in doing so, I get to play with my threads when I first get a project by adding them to my thread inventory and determine, what color they are on the scale, the color tool scale. And that to me is just all part of the process. And then, of course, putting them away, it's a sad little thing to do, but they're organized, they're put away, and I can find them when I need them.
Oh, you're one of those disciplined ones that once a project's done, then you actually put the stuff away.
Yes.
Ooh, you are in a rare group.
But I know people don't like taking the time to do that. But again, for me, it's like playing with my stuff, so it's not a real chore. And I get reintroduced sometimes to things that I've got in my stash that I've forgotten about. So it's not that bad. And of course, the thing is, finishing a project, that only occurs when something is finished. So this may take a long time before they get put away.
Yeah. I have a basket on my table of threads for active projects. Mm-hmm. And I was looking through that the other day and realized there were 4 or 5 projects worth of thread in that basket.
And now do you have them divided up by project or just all put together?
Now, Brenda, really? Do you really think that they're in there in an organized fashion?
Oh, one can only hope.
I think there's probably somewhat of a semblance of layers of threads by project, but no, they're not organized. No, if I actually had to dig out threads for a project, I'd have to dump the thing out on the table and sort them. No.
And start to. Well, there's the reacquaintance tool. That could be fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No. And the sampler I'm working on right now, that all of that silk, there's a whole pile of silk threads. That's all sitting on top, so that's easy. But there's 2 needlepoint projects, and I think over the weeks here, those threads have kind of gotten intermixed. Yeah.
All right, and they're working their way to the bottom. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. It's like sand. It just keeps sifting down.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Well, that's one way of aging your projects. So if it's like 3 years old, no, you don't want to go there. Don't even look for it.
No. Unfortunately, they're not that old, but it's a problem. Yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah. And I do that shiny new thing too often. I got to stop. Yeah.
I know. We're all victims of that, and it's I don't always succeed in putting it off, but some, the ones I do need to have right now, I'll start it. And then God knows where it might land up. But again, I'm one of these journey people as well. I like finishing projects, but I certainly love the doing of the project. So if it doesn't get totally finished, well, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. Oh, good. I'm in good company then.
Yeah. I know a lot of people feel the same way. It's how they justify the purchasing of new projects to do. It's new journeys.
Yeah. I just like, it's the challenge of doing it. Whether it gets done, I mean, I want to get them finished, otherwise I wouldn't start them. But to get it finished and have it framed or turned into something, is not something that I spend a lot of time on. It's the process itself. I really enjoy that. So
yeah. Well, cool. You're a journey person then too.
Yep. I tend to be.
Yeah, the finishing part is kind of an albatross around my neck. Of course, as you know, I do a lot of my own ornaments and the like, and starting to do pillows, and the stuff sits there until I can gather up the necessary wherewithal to actually do something with it. But I'm going to be teaching a class, at least we're talking about anyway, about finishing. And I thought I'll have a number of ornaments in various stages of completion, and I'm thinking about maybe 15 or 20 of them should do it.
Yeah.
So that will enable me to finish a big stack of ornaments, just, staring me in the face saying, finish me.
Yeah.
So
well, that's always a big hump for people to get over, getting something finished, especially if they want to do it themselves. Was that for you too? The first ones that you finished? Like, oh boy, what if I wreck all this?
They were a mess. They were a hot mess. Fortunately, I don't have to look at them every day. I finished my first 2 ornaments that I finished myself after reading articles and looking at some YouTube. And most of the finishing instructions are for cross stitch, very little for needlepoint. And it's a different ball of wax when you're dealing with stiffer fabrics. But so I did these 2 ornaments that were to hang on my community Christmas tree. And I look at them today and I want to cry. I just want to take them off a tree when they hang them up. Every time I go to our clubhouse and I see them there and I go, oh no, these are so bad. And I'm sure women who've moved into the neighborhood who can stitch are looking at this stuff and they go, ooh, this is obviously a homemade job. Things have gotten a lot better since then. Yeah. But, it's a practice process. The more I do them, the better I get at it. And, of course, a lot of different shapes are involved, and that involves something new, and how big or how small the mounting board should be, and the size cording, and what type of cording, and whether I make it or not. There's the whole 9 yards that I have to think about. But I do it.
Yeah, I see. I've never tried it.
Oh, you should. It's not the end of the world. You'll find that it's very doable. And I save a lot of money. I really do believe I have over the years. So all the ornaments I have finished.
Oh, I have no doubt that you saved a truckload of money. Or just provided more money to buy new projects, one or the other. But.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
And the time I've taken to do this, to do one ornament takes me a morning, only because there's tons of steps involved. So it's worth doing and taking your time. And who knows? If everyone out there did this, they might find they like it. Or, as I've read often enough, people will say, "Now I know the value of finishers.
Yeah,
I will never do this again." So.
Yeah, that's like framing. Yeah, if you ever try to lace and frame, which I've never done, you start to realize why you pay so much to have that done.
Yes. My biggest problem with lacing is, I get one side too tight and it's crooked, and then trying to unlace and straighten it out, and the other side gets crooked. It's like, oh my God, I'm glowing. No more lacing for me.
Yeah. Well, and I think that I've read in at least a couple places that if you can learn to lace and take a laced piece to a framer, that's a big chunk of the cost just because of the labor.
Right. Where I go, they don't lace, but they will use stainless steel pins and pull your work around the mounting board and tighten it up that way. Or sometimes they even sew it to the mounting board to keep it in place, using no glue, which is nice. For framed pieces anyway, you don't want glue touching any of your stitching.
Right.
So
they actually sew it to the board?
Yes. Not all of I go to a big chain type place to get my things framed. Not all of the workers will sew. I think some of them have learned the stainless steel pin technique and they prefer that, but others do sew. So it depends on who's doing the framing for me. But it's worked out pretty well. And of course, as picky as I am, if it doesn't come out right, I'll let them know, and they're usually pretty happy to redo it for me. Mm-hmm. Sometimes 3 times because maybe the mat's not sitting right, or we talk about different things to make the process a little easier for both of us. And so it's a learning experience all around. Yeah. It's worth it. It's worth it.
Well, and yeah, picky or not, it's something you're going to look at for years. So it has to be just right. And if it's just a hair off, it's just going to bug you forever.
Right. You can see it.
Yeah. You might as well get it right. Yeah.
Yes. And of course, some people are more OCD than others. It just depends on what you're willing to live with, I guess.
No, that's one of the things that if I have to walk by it every day, it's got to be squared up and tightened up and just right. Yeah. No, that would bug me. No.
Yeah.
So what is it? You talk about, because you're right. Most of the finishing is for cross stitch, and so you have a much more pliable, flexible fabric. And do you end up with needlepoint canvas? Do you end up having to muscle it a little bit, or is it just getting it folded correctly around the mounting board the first time and adjusting from there?
The ornaments or projects that are mounted on boards, those are pretty easy. It's just a matter of gluing one little section at a time and forcing. I only glue my I guess seam allowances or whatever you want to call them, the little edge that goes over the mounting board. That's the section that gets glued onto the board, not the needle point or stitching itself. So I'm very slow, and I'll do a little section at a time. That's not difficult. What is difficult is something that needs to be sewn and then put right side out. That is very difficult for me, and it takes a lot of fingering, and you kind of like try to wrinkle up the project to soften the canvas, starching so that you can actually turn this thing in the right direction. And then there's the little pressing you have to do once that's done. That's, and then the tearing sometimes of the seam, that can be a royal mess. I don't enjoy that kind of thing. I've done a few of those, and it's iffy. But the gluing over a mounting board is a lot easier. Okay.
And I assume some kind of acid-free archival glue?
No.
No?
because it's going on the back. So it's nothing that's touching. The mounting board is archival. But the glue that I use on the back, that part's not leaking to the front of the stitching. So I don't worry too much about that.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. I'm using quilting batting, to pad the ornament. I suspect that has nothing to do with archival processes. But I'll be honest with you, I don't give many ornaments away. The ones I have, I don't expect them to last a lifetime, not especially mine, never mind anyone else's. When you go to thrift shops today and you'll see someone's stitching sitting there for sale for a penny or something, if I'm lucky, someone will buy my stuff for a penny and use it. But, I have no great expectations that it's going to land up in the Louvre, or the Metropolitan Museum of Art. So that's not going to happen.
So for you, it's do a piece, get it finished so that you can enjoy it for the foreseeable future, and what happens to that afterwards, it doesn't matter.
I can't worry about it. Otherwise, I know some people do worry about such things. I guess I'm being a realist because you see it over and over and over again when someone passes the children don't want these things, and it does land up in thrift shops or the rag bag or, whatever.
Yeah. We talk about that frequently here. the stuff we have at the house, we might as well just do something with it now or get rid of it because the kids are just going to swipe it into a dumpster and move on. They don't want it.
I know. I hear so much that the younger generation is not into material goods. Their thing is acquiring experiences, which, to say is that's wonderful. If they have the time and money, to do that.
Yeah.
But needlepointing is a great experience.
Right. Well, and I think we're seeing some of that. I think we're seeing that in the young people starting to look at things like needlework in general. And certainly with the cross-stitch FlossTube world, a lot of young people getting involved and finding that there's a lot of reward in it. And we've talked about this on podcasts many times. And I think there's a definite movement there that has some legs to it. I don't think it's just a fantasy thing. I think there's some real substance there that my phone is just not doing it for me anymore.
I know. Well, I agree with you there. In fact, it's having a craft. It's very tactile, especially if you're in the going to school all day and studying. It's all cerebral, not something you can do with your hands. So when you have a craft and you've got something, a result of your labor, it's a feel-good thing.
Right. No, I think so. I think people are starting to look at that, which is good. It's good, and we're seeing the growth in needlework in general. I have to ask you about when you're finishing this. Is it Kumihimo?
Hold on. It's Kumihimo braiding. It's a really cool technique. Have you ever tried it?
I've never heard of it till I ran into you.
Oh, I'm trying to think how I heard of it.
Because most people do the DMC strands and twist them up with the wheel thing to make braiding, but you don't do that.
Well, I do. Oh, yes, I do. I do a lot of different things. I've done all kinds of fancy cords using the little, screw thing, that some people purchase from Krynek. I think I got mine from a needlepoint store somewhere. Or you can even do it with a pencil, just wrap the pencil around a gazillion times and you get your cording that way. I buy ready-made cording. Some places have interesting cording that you can use on ornaments. But the Kumihimo braiding is, if you want a thicker, well, not necessarily thicker, but if you want something different, that doesn't look like it's twirled. Well, I'm going to back up. Kumihimo can look that way. It depends on how many ribbons you're using. Normally the process goes from 6 to 8 ribbons. I've tried it using fewer, but it looks a little flimsy. But it's a great thing to do while you're in the car as a passenger or, watching something interesting on television that requires a little more attention. I don't know. But, within a few hours, you've got a beautiful cord. And it works out, and it's so easy to do. There are Kumihimo societies out there that do jewelry and lots of beaded cords. I look at those and go, I need more time. Yeah. But I'm pretty happy with my little cording thing the cords that I make for ornaments and the like.
Because on your blog you show it's like a disc with slots in it, and you feed the thread through and down through a central hole. Where does the braiding happen?
With the moving of you see the little spools, you move it, take a spool that's filled with thread and you move it from one slot to another. And there are patterns on how you move those spools. And depending on the colors you have, it makes for some very interesting combinations. And you weigh the braid as it's coming through the hole so that it has a self-pulling effect. And it's interesting to see the result of the pattern making, but it's just moving thread from one, the slot to another on the disc. So that's it.
So it's not unlike bob and lace then.
Oh, I don't know anything about bob and lace.
Oh, well,
don't get me started with that. I know some people do. I know Arlene does it.
Yeah, but moving the bobbins around to get a twist. So this is moving the thread around this disc in some planned order. And then you have a weight on the end of the braid that goes through the central hole.
Correct.
That gives you your tension then.
Yes.
I'll be darned.
Yeah. It's very easy, and it's a lot of fun. And I know a number of people have started doing this, making their own braids, seeing that I've been doing it. I highly recommend it because you can make some pretty interesting braiding for your ornaments, or even something to give to your finisher rather than the standard twisted cable or cording.
Huh.
So, yeah. And of course, I've been buying ribbons. Lots of, I don't use thread. I use ribbons to make my braid, and I've collected a real nice batch of ribbons online, and you get these huge spools. Of course, where you're going to put that stash,
right.
But and all the basic colors, and generally the basics are all you really need for most projects.
Mm-hmm. I'll be darned. Learned something there.
Yeah,
because I saw the picture and I couldn't figure out how does this happen. How do you get any kind of braid? But now I can see it quite easily that you just move these things around this disc and make your braid.
Well,
okay.
And I had a little bit of understanding how that works. As a child, oh my God, grade school, 3rd grade, 2nd grade, the nuns, and I was in a parochial school, the nuns would give us these spools, empty spools of thread with 4 nails, sometimes 6 nails pounded to the top. And we would take white, I don't know, string. I guess string is the way to, what you would call it. And we would wrap loops around the string and then take a little crochet hook and, I don't know how to express it, but take wrap a loop around one nail, then take the loop that's on the bottom and with a crochet hook and lift it over. And again, you would make these long cords that the priests would use to tie their robes, things like that. So,
okay. Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of reminded me of that process. And I think every little Catholic schoolgirl has done that, for their parish priest. At least in my generation, I don't know if they still do that. But anyway,
part of your education.
Oh yes, and little factory workers.
Yeah,
these little belts, for the priest.
Yeah, Father Joe, there are child labor laws. Yeah, well, whatever.
Yeah. Hey, it was, we were going to go to heaven if we did 3 of them.
Of course you were.
I think I'm exaggerating for emphasis there, but the things they would tell you to get you all excited about this stuff.
Yeah. It's marketing, and just in a different way. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you do mostly geometric charted canvas needlepoint?
Mostly charted, or anything that I can count. I do very, very little painted canvases. They just never appealed to me. As counted canvas, counted needlepoint doesn't appeal to most people, actually.
Yeah.
I find myself never knowing where to put that stitch, when there's a change in color or, diagram or whatever. It's a little too random sometimes for my taste. And of course, often enough, when having to compensate stitch, well, I'm getting over that, but I just find I like the counted work. It suits my the way I think, I suppose. And the geometrics I used to do, whether it's almost like a sampler kind of thing, a little stitch in this block and another stitch in that block. I've done a lot of those, but I'm moving away from that kind of thing today. I'm trying to do more. Oh God, I'm trying to look around to see what I am doing. But if I go to my blog and look at my in-process projects, and I'm just clicking on that right now, and oh yeah, there's all kinds of fun stuff. Some partly painted, a lot of items in collections like Susan Portra's holiday ornaments and Janet Ziegler Casey's Santa ornaments. They're not painted; they are drawn. Or at least, you count a shape on a canvas. And then, you just follow the stitch guide, and it couldn't be any easier. I've done a lot of Nancy Cucci pieces that are like little miniature samplers in boxes.
Right.
Yeah, I guess I do still some of that, but but just things like Debbie Raleigh's pieces, which are gorgeous. I think I'm kind of maybe doing other things right now. And I'll get back to her later. So.
Yeah, you move around and see. When I say geometric and charted, I guess I'm lumping that all together as one thing. Because that's what appeals to me is charted. I just can't. The painted ones I can't get excited. But I can see the value, and when you see people who can really work a painted canvas and literally bring it to life, it's just, to me, it's awe-inspiring.
Oh yes. and the different stitches that they use, and moving the foreground up and the background back. That's a talent, and especially writing stitch guides. I can appreciate that. But it's just, I just ooh and ah over them, especially when they're exhibited. And I go, oh my God, that is so beautiful. Would I be able to do that? Do I want to do that? But I can appreciate it. You know?
Yeah. No, that it's just when it's done well, there's few things like it. I don't see it done really well a lot. But boy, when you get somebody who knows what they're doing and can really execute, that flat piece just becomes three-dimensional. It's very impressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is, and it can make just every little detail pop. You know, I'm thinking of some of one of the exhibit I saw a couple of Christmas stockings that were Gulf oriented, and wow, every little detail was extremely well executed, and made your eye want to study every little piece. You just couldn't just look at it and go away. You had to look at it and really look at it.
Right. That's when they really dance, is when because that's a painter, photographer skill. When you can make somebody stop and literally explore the piece, then that's when you've had success. And so the really good ones, they really do. But the charted ones for me, I just love doing them. It's the different stitches, the challenge, the placing, how they're organized, the different threads, all of that. Just for me is that's where I find the real pleasure.
Yes, and of course the challenge is when you're doing a large block and you work your way around and it meets at the top where you started.
Wow!
And you're halfway there. Once that happens, or it's the same as when you're doing a background stitch around a center piece, and you're doing and you're going on both sides, and suddenly you start working on the bottom. Oh, it matches. I've done it right. Didn't miss a stitch somewhere. They do have challenges in themselves, which for me it's all what you want to do.
Yeah, well, and that's the beauty of this hobby, is that if you're not real excited about something you're doing, there's 20 other options, techniques, or approaches that you can go explore. And you never know, you might find something you really love, or find something that's just a nice diversion. It's
yes, or find something that's driving you crazy and you're never going to finish it.
Yeah, I think we all have those, yes.
That gets put away. And in fact, I'm looking at some of my items saying, I'm really not going to finish this. What do I do with it? I have an eBay. Well, never mind. I'll just go sell it.
Yeah. No, that's, and that's interesting, mental process where I'm not really excited about this. I'd rather go stitch this. So you set it aside. And then sometimes you actually come back to it and finish it. And if you can look at it with a new eye, that's perfect. One of the things I found when I'm getting close to finishing a project, and I've got so many other things I want to work on, sometimes I'm wondering, do I really feel like I hate this thing now? I just can't stand working on it. I'm pushing myself just to get to the finish line. I hear people talk about, they're going to be missing a close friend, when they finish it, and they've so much enjoyed it from start to finish. And I kind of envy that, because for me, it's like, okay, I'm so over this. I just want it done. Start something new. I don't know that how I feel about that either way. Because for me, there's a point where you can see the finish line. And I think more often than not, that energizes me.
Oh, good. That's good.
Yeah, because this thing is about done. I'm gonna drive on this thing till it's finished. You can just feel it. And other people, I don't know, if I finish it, then I got to give it up. Yeah, because it's become a friend of sorts. And so they'll languish, and then there are people who admit, I've got a whole stack of stuff that's 80% finished and just can't bring themselves to wrap it up. Yeah.
Very understandable. Yeah. And I find myself in that ladder mode more often than not.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Yeah. No, I do. It's like a little shot of adrenaline. Oh, I can see the end
Cool.
of this thing. I'm driving it all the way. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I got to get myself there. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to finish this. I'm going to love it. Yeah. So.
The trick for me is to get to that point. That's the trick for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I do find myself more and more now doing smaller projects because they are easy to get done quickly and finish. The few really big ones I have, they're the ones that are not getting done there. They keep languishing in the bin, you know. Maybe I should just give those up. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, and there's a gratification thing with the small ones.
Yes, yes.
You keep getting that shot of, oh, I got another one. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's, I don't know. I tend to always do the bigger stuff, and I don't know why, but it just happens. Do you get more? Help me out with online classes and courses. Do you approach those different from live ones in terms of how you go about them? Do you learn more from one or the other?
I think you learn more from a live class. In fact, I know you do. Because when you take an online course, it's assumed that you have the skill level to do the stitching, to know how to approach the project, even though many teachers will give so much detail, there's, not an issue. But in person, you not only learn from the teacher, but from your fellow students, because the teacher will try to explain something some way. And if you're looking at her cross-eyed, another student might say, how about trying this? Or the teachers will also have a way, they'll recommend ways to begin the project. I just do learn so much more. I can't really think now of specific examples, but I can tell you actually when I first started, when I first joined the Guild, within months I was at a class taught by Sue Reed, and I had no idea about what it meant to change directions when doing continental stitch, up a column and over, from down from the right and then moving over to the left. You do need to change your direction of that 10 stitch. I never heard of that. And she was so kind to actually draw on a piece of paper how that works and when the change is made. I took a picture of that so I could take it home. It was a simple little thing, but for me it was an eye-opener and made so much sense about how the stitches are pulled, So to this day, I still think of her when I find myself making that change in direction.
Yeah.
And a lot of teachers don't explain this. I guess because there's so much else that has to be done on the canvas that little detail, well, that's just something they can pick up later if they don't already know.
Right. Right.
So
yeah,
yes,
it's interesting. I'm not surprised that you say that you get more out of a live course, because it is that back and forth and that interaction, not just with the instructor, but with fellow students. And of course, people who are saying, I don't have a store anywhere near me or any way to take a live class. So then online is their only way.
Mm-hmm,
and,
mm-hmm. And I've done enough online classes to know many of them are very good, and you can learn a lot as well. But, it's tough when you don't have the means to attend out-of-town classes, or if you don't have a local needlepoint shop that gives classes, or you have no access to guilds or stitching groups, and you're really truly on your own. The online classes are probably the best way to go at that point. But I must admit, I haven't watched many FlossTube videos because most of them, I'd say 99% of them are cross stitch related.
Right.
But maybe there are a few videos out there done by needlepoint shops on YouTube. So that I don't think they're FlossTube videos, but if you Google how to do a certain stitch, you might come up with online instructions that will be very helpful. I've seen a few of those, and they are pretty good, actually. Like how to do a bullion knot. That's always fun.
Yeah.
So,
that one.
Yes, that one. And, things like the difference between, a a French knot versus a colonial knot. You'll see some of that, on needlepoint. And doing ribbon embroidery on needlepoint. That's a relatively new thing. And more shops are doing videos. Again, I don't believe they're floss tubing, but just, shop videos that you can access on, through YouTube.
Right. Yeah, they're getting to be more and more needlepoint oriented videos, and they're valuable. I mean, I keep a little list of those things. Just I can't remember how to do this stitch, and yep, there it is right there. Here's how to do it. And I have books too. I have stitch books that have all the numbers and the charts and stuff. But even that, like if you're doing a walnetto and haven't done one in a while, sometimes just to see that in action puts you over the hump with it.
Right. Oh, I know. First time I did those, I was flummoxed for sure. But
well, that's and the thing is with those walnettos and Jessicas and stuff, they're not particularly difficult. It's just you don't do them all that often, and so you forget.
Right.
And you'll do one, and you'll get good practice, like this Curdy Biggs thing I just started with the pilot class we did with her. And of course it's Curdy Biggs, so there's Jessicas everywhere of all shapes and sizes, and then some walnettos. Well, now it's been a while since I did a walnetto, and so she showed how to do it, and it brought it right back. Oh yeah, that I remember that now, and so I'm off and running. But when you don't do them frequently, and then it's the little nuances in those stitches that make all the difference, and you forget that until somebody shows you again. Yeah.
Well, the other thing too about stitches like walnetto or double fan doubled is that I need an uninterrupted piece of time to actually complete the whole stitch. Otherwise, once I lose count, oh God, no, I've got to start over again.
Yep. Yep. Oh no, that's so true. That's so true with those stitches. Exactly. You got to be able to finish the whole thing, and you got to have enough thread so that you have a long enough piece, and you can take your time and not have it get tangled. And keep the tension right. And then if you have to redo it a couple of times, have enough thread that you can throw that one away and get another one. And, I'm with you 100%. Just don't talk to me. I got to get this done.
And even more fun, if you're doing those stitches that go over, under, this and that, and you're using floss that has to be laid. Another headache. But the results are beautiful. So it's worth it. It really is.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. That's the fun right there. Because when you get those just right, to me, there's nothing like it. That's just perfect. Love it.
Right. Yes. Cool.
Yeah.
This hobby or passion, not hobby. This passion gets better and better every day.
Yeah. Well, we were talking. Oh, Arlene and I were talking about anchoring threads. Oh, it was whether to put in knots. We were having a discussion about knots here last week and the week before. And I'd never put knots in until this Curdy Biggs class, and we're using a silk pearl. I swear it was coated in grease. I just swear it was. And no matter what I did, it wouldn't anchor, and I just wouldn't allow a knot. And Curdy said, you may want to put a little knot in here just to keep that thing from pulling through. And finally I did, and got it to hold, because I couldn't get the first stitch in with any tension because it would just pull right through. And I was Bargello tucking it 2 and 3 times, and I just couldn't get it to hold. So
even pin stitches couldn't help.
It wouldn't hold.
Or were they just too big?
It just wouldn't hold. It was a thinner floss or thinner thread on 18 count. And I just couldn't get it to hold. And I'm sure that other women in the class just, tucked it in and went, because I was doing a pin stitch, but I was doing an extra lap on the pin stitch, and then when it was near something else where I could actually anchor it under other threads, that's what I preferred. And it just kept slipping out. So finally I did. I put a knot, and that held it. And just a little knot. It'll never show. No one will ever know. And
was it a pearl thread?
Yeah.
Pearl type of stuff? Sometimes, I don't know if this is allowed or not. I've never heard anybody talk about this, but sometimes on pearls or even ribbon-like threads like flare or neon race or whatever, I will actually poke my needle through the tail on the backside to try to catch it so that it won't pull through. And that is, I've had pretty good success with that. again, if I pull too much on the front, I'll just tear the whole thing apart. But so far, that holds.
Yeah. Now I've done that with flare. I haven't consciously done it with. I'm sure I've done it accidentally, but not consciously with others. But I've done that with flare. Somebody gave me that. It may even have been you. I don't know. That technique, and that does hold it. Yeah, that'll stop it right in its tracks. Yeah. What I was doing with Jessica's with this silk pearl that had to be started out in open space. I couldn't anchor them anywhere else, and I could have done an away knot, but I just really preferred to do it. I was doing a weird fan-shaped pin stitch under where the majority of the threads would cross. So I had like a 3-legged pin stitch, and that got it to anchor.
Cool.
Yeah, that worked.
But, whatever it takes.
I know. That was just it. Whatever it takes.
Yeah. But those little pin stitches are great. Because, like you said on one show, you don't have to flip your work back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So they save a lot of time.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They hold well. They really hold well. Yeah. Try cutting those things out. They hold that well.
Oh, so. Yeah. I've had to do that. Oh, we've all had to do that. Yeah. Those things are locked in. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Once you get some tension on them and get 2 or 3 stitches, they aren't going anywhere. Mm-mm.
Right. So, it's all the things you have to learn.
No, that's and starting and ending threads is still for me is just the one thing I just really do not like. I never feel I'm never confident, not never, but I'm always wondering, is this going to pull out? And I spend way more time than I should on it. But
well, I've had that actually happen to me and 2 framed items because they were moved around a lot for exhibits or whatever reason. Threads pulled out, and I had to take it back to the frame shop, get the piece taken out, take it home, fix a thing, then get it framed again. So I'm trying to be a little more aware of this, that if the thread is slippery, tighten it up, don't let it come loose. Because,
that's, because I fear that. And then the other part that I've really been putting some thought into is when you finish off a thread, being careful not to pull that too tight on the back side.
Yeah. You can do all kinds of damage to the stitches in front.
Right. And so I've been trying to be much more conscious of that, and have found myself going back on the front side with a needle or laying tool and pulling that out a little bit just because I pulled too hard.
Yeah. I think that's just experience that teaches you how to do that. But it's one of the things that judges will see. I was just thinking about exhibits recently. Judges see that kind of thing. They can tell when stitches have been pulled too hard from front to back.
Yeah, I'm sure they can. Well, you had a real nice list on your blog here. I think it was some time ago about what judges look for, and I really found that interesting. It's one of those things that I actually, in getting ready for this one, I've set that list aside as things to watch for, because whether your stuff is judged or not, these are the little things that make a difference to me.
It does. I learned a lot. In fact, I put this list together as a result of helping judges out at our local needlework exhibit, and the kinds of things that they would say. Well, this is a nice piece. Most of the work is great, but I can see the running thread, behind the fabric, or just things like that people don't know they need to worry about when they're stitching. And like you said, not just for a judged piece, but for your own enjoyment. If you're going to hang something on your wall, you wouldn't want someone to come up and say, "Oh, I see a black thread under your white fabric. Should that be there? Is that?" Oh, and thinking of seeing things, and it's amazing when people exhibit framed pieces that have animal hair that's caught between the piece and the glass. And judges do not like that at all. Oh, God, yeah. So you almost want to take a lint brush and, before you have something framed, make sure all the lint and animal hair is pulled off with it. That's just one little thing. Oh. And other people say animal hair is a fabric, so, it's a thread. Okay. I'm leaving it alone.
Okay. Yeah, we don't have pets. So that never enters the equation. But, a lot of people show pictures with the cat sitting on their lap or the dogs got his face up on the knee wanting to go for a walk. And yeah, I can imagine hairs get caught all the time.
Oh, I hear that too from friends who have pets. But to them, it's, like they say, it's not a fur, it's not hair, it's fabric. So it goes right into their project, and they don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah. No, yeah. We've had pets
except
before.
when the judge sees it. The judges don't like that. Yeah,
it's like, oh no, I didn't see that. Yeah. Well, and that's, I think that with pet hair, I mean, that's just a problem in that after a while you just don't see it.
Right. That's probably true.
Yeah. Even if you are meticulous about your housekeeping, you still, it's just part of the
everything.
Yeah.
I visit a friend's house and I'm in my stocking feet. I come home, take off my shoes, and oh my God, I got pet hair all over my stocking feet.
Right. And they probably just vacuumed like 4 hours earlier.
Yes. It can't be helped.
Yeah.
It's what happens when you have pets, the dear things.
Yeah. We had cats, 2 cats at one time. And yeah, it was always hair, always cleaning up. Yep. Goes with it, but they become family. Yeah.
Yes, they do. Yes, I had a dog for years, so I know.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm looking at this list of finishing things to pay attention to. I was fortunate being able to help judges when they are doing a needlework exhibit, and it's called being a teller when you help a judge and just bring the pieces to the judge to look at and then take them away. It's, like an assistant. And if they're going to give critiques, you take notes, and that's where you really learn. It's when the critiques are given. So
as the teller, you write down the comments so that then they can assemble it into a document afterwards.
Well, the comments are on the back of the entry form. At least that's how they do it locally. And so the entrants, the people putting in the exhibit, can read these comments and learn why maybe they didn't get a ribbon, or if they were third place instead of first because of this or that. It's invaluable to get that kind of critique. Or, you just get a judge who has strong opinions about something and will not even look at a piece because she doesn't like the fringe on the pillow, or she thinks the stitches are blah. You're not. I understand that judges, their personal opinions are not supposed to come into play, but they can't help it. It does. Worked with enough judges to see that happen. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if even at the A&G level or Woodlawn, the bigger exhibits, that this kind of thing works as well. That it's hard to, truly look at something objectively if it just irks you to see it.
Right. Well, that's human nature. Yeah, I often wonder in any of those subjective judging, dog shows is one. When you watch those, I watched a few of those American Kennel Club things, and those judges, they'll just that one, not this one, and holy smokes, and. I know there are, I'm sure, standardized things that they look for, but it's a personal opinion too. They don't like big dogs, or they don't like little dogs, or whatever it might be. And I'm sure with needlepoint judges, same kind of thing. I don't like pillows, so
I'm not going to enjoy doing this. So I'm just going to fly through it. Yes.
Yeah. I have to judge the county fair, and 80% of them are pillows. Oh, I hate this. Yeah.
We have a county fair here too that I've never participated in. I may try that this year and see how it's done, more or less.
Yeah, you'll have the pie judge judging your needlework.
Yes, and it depends on how big the county fair is. I know in states like Maryland, they have huge fairs, and they've got professional judges who need to get certified. They really are, I don't want to say true judges. They don't have certifications from NAN or A&G or EGA, but they do learn a lot as to how to go through the process. And so I feel like to think that they too will know what they're looking at and make it correct.
Right. So as a teller, then, you're just, if you're smart as a teller, you can improve your stitching just by being a teller and keeping your eyes and ears open.
Yes, exactly. Because, like I said, I put together all these notes just based upon the few years I mean, I did this, I think, in 2014, and I'd been a teller maybe for a couple of years at that time. And I knew I just had to write all of it down because it was so important. And so many people, these are things that so many people just didn't know about. That these are the types of things that would be looked at, like the tension on stitches and whether little threads show through, or the doing basket weave is a big thing. When you start your basket weave in one direction, then you change threads and you start it in another direction. Suddenly, the coverage on the back isn't the same, so you can see holes in the canvas threads. I don't know if you've ever noticed that before.
Yes.
You have to back it with colors that this won't show, but judges see this. They can tell that you switched directions, or you started a new thread in this area and you filled it in over there. It really has to be consistent. You want to start and stop threads at the top or bottom, not midway, across the basket weave or the diagonal row, whatever you want to call it. Just lots of little things like that you never think to look for, and yet the judges see these little mysteries.
And then I bet that as you're carrying pieces back and forth and looking at them, then your eye starts to pick those things out ahead of time.
Yes. However, I can see it better when you're carrying things to the judge. You're pretty busy. You're going back and forth and trying to figure things out in categories and all this stuff. And you really don't have a whole lot of time to study the piece as it's being taken to the judge. But it's after the fact. Then you can see what she saw. And go, oh my, this piece is a mess.
Yeah, on the surface it looks really great, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, I hope exhibitors enjoy learning like I have, because I put a lot of stuff in, and a lot of stuff does not get any recognition at all, for whatever reason. Sometimes because the judge just doesn't like it, or it's a common piece, or who knows why. But it's still fun to do, and I encourage everybody to participate. If anything, we have this category called People's Choice or Delegates' Choice. And many times these choices don't win ribbons, but the public, the audience, or the people who come to view the exhibit, they fall in love with the piece, ribbon or not. So it's worth going through that route. So.
Yeah, I've heard more than once that just to exhibit, the experience of doing that, and then the critique you get back, whether you win a ribbon or not, is almost gold.
Yes, it is, and can improve your stitching 100-fold, in the future, if that's what they want. Some people could care less. Just put the thread on the canvas and just go at it and have fun.
Right.
Just relax, which is fine.
Yeah.
In fact, I guess for some, stitching with the eye of maybe exhibiting it when finished might be a little stressful, and that's not fun either. It shouldn't have to be a stressful thing to do.
Right, yeah. If you're going to stitch a whole piece knowing you want to exhibit it, and every stitch you're panic stricken over, that's not fun. No.
Yeah. In fact, I've tried doing that. I'll start a project. I'm going to exhibit this, and this is going to be perfect. Well, halfway into it, nah.
Never mind.
I'm just going to enjoy this. I may exhibit it, but I know nothing's going to happen. That's for sure.
Yeah, reality sets in. Yeah, just never mind.
Yep. I don't feel like just because my thread just wasn't twisted correctly at that stitch 10 threads ago, or gets a little fuzzy. One of the things I always tell you is to use short lengths of threads that fuzz up easily, or have problems, or God, that to me is so tedious. You hate starting and stopping, and that's what happens when you're using short lengths.
Right.
But if this is a special exhibit piece, you do want to do that. I haven't done that yet.
Well, but and that's the thing. Pearl cotton is one of those that, I'm pretty careful. I don't run it nearly as far along the thread as I used to, because you can see that shine start to go off as it gets fluffed up, and it gets noticeable.
That's true. Pearls are a perfect example of that. Then especially if they lose their twist, and then the nap of the thread just changes. You can put it to the light one way or the other. Judges see that all the time. Ooh, that's different. That's an old
Yeah.
thread.
Well, and I fight with that all the time. Pearl drives me nuts because I don't know what it is I'm doing on the backside when I bring the needle up, but I am constantly tightening the twist, and I'll pull it up, and boy, that thing is tight. And so then I'll take it back out 2 or 3 stitches to let it relax again, and it really frustrates me because when it's consistent, it's beautiful, but when you start getting too tight or too loose, it really gets noticeable. And I don't know what I do, but it's a real struggle for me.
Everybody does that. You're twisting the needle as you're putting it through the canvas, down and up. You don't realize you're doing it, but you are twisting that needle, which will cause the pearl to loosen up or tighten up one way or the other. So yes, you do have to let it hang and get back to its normal twist. I have tried over and over again to hold my, okay, this is how I want it. I'm going to not twist it at all. By the time I'm pulling the needle out, I've managed to twist it. So it's, who knows?
Okay. It's not just me then.
No. I think everybody does it. And if I can find someone who doesn't have that problem, I would like to see their stitching in person.
Sit on the floor underneath their piece and watch what happens.
I would want to video it and then slow it down and put it close up. And I'm going to say, oh, I saw a movement.
Yeah. I'm going to have to I have to watch that. Maybe I'll stick the camera underneath and watch what I'm doing.
Now, if you do see yourself doing that, and that would be a good educational video to put out there. Get your own FlossTube started.
Yeah. Hey, why don't I, there's no reason I can't do that. I just gave myself an idea. I'll just lay the camera on the floor or the phone on the floor and just videotape what's going on underneath. Videotape. Listen to me.
I know what you meant.
Where did that come from? But
I know. That's a little older. Kind of thing.
No, that's a good idea. Then I can see what I'm doing. What's wrong? Why haven't I thought of this?
Yes, and if I were to do that, I would see how many times I drop the needle on the floor, how many times I drop the thread on the floor. That would be an exercise of utility.
Right.
Anyway,
right.
I do hope you do that. That would be interesting about how the minute movement of the needle to twist or untwist threads.
Yep.
Another problem too is when you're laying crane neck ribbon or anything that has flatness to it. You lay it nice and straight on the top, but by the time you get it to the back of the canvas and back up to the front, that thing is twisted 10 times in the back. And I know that can affect the final, how the thread lays in the front. So, that's, it can get a little tricky there. And I know people who put their work in for judging will actually lay their stitches on the back as well as on the front to make sure there's nothing funny going on in the front later. It's a thought. I haven't done it, but it's a thought.
Well, I know when I'm doing crane neck ribbon, somebody else told me that, and so I am careful what I do on the back, and it actually makes it go faster because it comes up cleaner and lays like it's supposed to. So you're not fiddling so much with it.
Right.
But then when I get to pearl cotton, then obviously I just forget all about that.
Pearls, it shouldn't twist that much more on the back than it does on the front. And hopefully if it's not really tight, that it will go back to its natural twist, from the back to the front, that they'll relax a little bit.
Yeah.
That's a hope. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to work on it. I'm guessing I'm going to video the underside of my canvas now. Okay. All right.
Okay, cool.
Something to do. Brenda, we have to quit.
Oh my God, time has gone by so quickly.
It has.
Wow.
And see, and we only covered like maybe 40% of what we had on the list. So that means you have to come back so we can talk about this stuff. Yeah.
I would love to.
That's how it works.
Yeah. Ask anything you want. I'll talk about it.
All right. Really enjoyed it, Brenda. Thanks for making the time.
Gary, thank you. I really enjoyed this.
Thanks to everyone for listening.